Welcome back to New Rockstars, I'm Eric Voss, and Black Widow released a trailer giving us our first look at Marvel Phase 4, the bright, action-packed future of a character we just saw die. Look, I love the grounded, espionage-driven Captain America Winter Soldier-esque vibe that the Black Widow movie is giving off here, so let's go through this trailer frame by frame for all the details that you might have missed that help explain how Black Widow fits in the Marvel timeline, the deeper conspiracy of this plot, and what the hell Hopper from Stranger Things is doing here. Spoiler warning in case I get anything too right, and let's get started.
I used to have nothing. And then I got this job.
Okay, the trailer opens on Budapest, the setting of some mysterious past mission hinted at by Clint Barton and Natasha Romanoff a number of times.
Just like Budapest all over again.
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
We're a long way from Budapest.
We know this is Budapest by the shot of the Freedom Statue, which commemorates the liberation of Hungary at the end of World War II by the Soviet Union. Throughout the Cold War, Hungary was very much within Russia's sphere of influence, so Natasha Romanoff and her former KGB operatives would have a lot of business here. This opening clip recycles Natasha's line to Cap in Avengers Endgame.
I used to have nothing. And then I got this job, this family.
And the footage we see is recycled from Natasha's Red Room memories in Age of Ultron, triggered by Scarlet Witch's nightmare sorcery. There's also a shot of Nat leading Cap and Banner onto the bridge of the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier in the first Avengers to meet Nick Fury. But let's move on to the second part of this.
This family. But nothing lasts forever.
Before we continue, thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this episode. Raid is one of the top 3 ranked RPGs on the Google Play Store, and it's just been nominated as a finalist for Google Play's Best of 2019 User's Choice Award, 15 million downloads in the last 6 months. Raid is an epic dark fantasy done right. A hero collection turn-based game with over 400 champions for you to collect and personally customize, and the best part, it's free to play. Raid is adding more than 16 new champions every month, so there's always new ways to play. And once you complete the missions, you will get one of the best champions in the game, the Arbiter. You'll also get tons of free champions, equipment, and other cool stuff just for learning to play. You can raid with friends in the clan, gather some orcs with your buds, explore 1 million champion builds in 13 locations with that guy who dated your friend's friend. You know who I'm talking about. His name is like Doug or Dan or something. The game's growing super fast, and check out this cool roadmap they've published. A new faction, a tag team arena feature, and even a new clan boss you'll be able to fight with your clan mates. Go to the video description, click on the special links, and if you are a new player, you will get 100,000 silver plus 1 energy refill plus 1 day XP booster, 3001 times 1 plus 1 free champion executioner. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. This clip singles out one-on-one moments between Natasha and Clint from Avengers and Natasha and Fury from Winter Soldier. This might signal the other MCU characters who could make surprise cameos in this film. Hawkeye, obviously, as someone who joined Natasha on some past Budapest mission, but also Nick Fury, who mentioned having contacts in the city as late as the 90s in Captain Marvel.
It's Cold War, we were everywhere. Belfast, Bucharest, Belgrade, Budapest. I like the bees, I can make them rhyme.
Natasha adds some new voiceover audio to the Endgame line, but nothing lasts forever. A meta nod to her fate in Endgame, but also maybe a reference to the job and family that she had before joining the Avengers. Because apparently, Natasha didn't have nothing before joining Cap, Stark, and the others. She had a crew of Russians. But the fact that she considers those people not family suggests to me that these spies will not really have her back in this film. They claim to be family, but I think they'll betray her in key ways to make her feel truly alone before she meets the Avengers. But before we move on in this trailer, the Marvel Studios title card is colored red and black, morphing into the red and black Black Widow logo. Her iconography from her original comics, inspired by, well, trigger warning if you're an arachnophobe, the red hourglass-shaped mark on the underside of the abdomen of the Black Widow spider. On to the next clip.
I heard you had to leave in a hurry.
It's never easy these days.
So what are you going to do?
I've lived a lot of lives, but I'm done running from my past.
Okay, here we hear the voice of Thunderbolt Ross talking about Natasha having to leave in a hurry as we see her deboarding a train. This movie is set in at least 2 time periods. One, in the gap of time between the events of Civil War and Infinity War after Natasha turned on Team Iron Man, which was backed by Secretary Ross, to join Captain America's fugitive team on the run. But the film will also flash back to an earlier period, currently undefined, evidenced by this shot of Ross apparently with the de-aging technology that Marvel has used in the past with Nick Fury, Tony Stark, Hank Pym, and Janet Van Dyne, and of course Ego's human form. It looks like they used William Hurt's blonde, dashing appearance from his days making films like Broadcast News. This presents some questions about the overall timeline, because this must take place significantly earlier than even the mid-2000s, because Ross seemed older as the General in The Incredible Hulk than he does here, based on those roots of Ross's mustache clock. I'm putting this in the 90s. Ross is in Hungary here. You can see the truck behind him. That's Hungarian for Varga and Company, Varga being a surname, and underneath that, Land and Sea Shipping. The music of this trailer is fantastic. There's this heavy electric string distortion sound. Black Widow's music is being composed by Henry Jackman, who scored Winter Soldier and Civil War. And to me, this composition reminds me of Hans Zimmer's Mombasa theme from Inception, which also accompanied a high-paced espionage foot chase. Typical of spy movies, Natasha has several fake IDs and passports. There's one for California, looks like the name E. Herbert in the signature there, and another for British Columbia with the name Samantha Renee Berezin. There's also a stack of passports, the top of which is a United Kingdom passport. There's also some paperwork with Hebrew lettering on it, perhaps citizenship paperwork for Israel, another country known as a hotspot for international intrigue and espionage. Natasha heads into an apartment, footage that Comic-Con attendees were lucky enough to see last summer, which leads us to the next clip.
I know you're out there.
I know you know I'm out here. So we're gonna talk like grown-ups?
Is that what we are?
Natasha faces Yelena Belova, played here by Florence Pugh. In the comics, Yelena Belova is a rival spy from the KGB Red Room who hunts down Natasha Romanoff to try to steal the Black Widow title from her. In this movie, the Black Widow title is shared among several spies from the Red Room, including these two, along with Rachel Weisz's character Melina, maybe Melina Vostokov, aka Iron Maiden, but we don't know her last name yet. They fight with perfectly mirrored moves, like they try to steal each other's guns, but they just swap guns, showing they've been trained the same exact way. Or maybe this is all just Natasha losing her mind like a cat fighting a mirror. In this apartment, there's a poster for a German opera, along with a drum kit from Guitar Hero World Tour. I remember those days. That game came out in 2008, which could help us narrow down the timeline here. Like the earlier time period could be as late as 2008, which would be right before Tony Stark became Iron Man, and a couple years before Natasha would work with Fury to recruit Tony to the Avengers Initiative in Iron Man 2. Or, you know, this could just be set in the post-Civil War period and Yelena just likes the old games. On Yelena's wall is more spy shit. There's a map of Budapest. You can tell from the Danube River stretching up vertically through the city. There's red markers and other photos covering it. I have some more thoughts on what this could be later in this video. Natasha defends herself from Yelena's knife with, what's that, a stapler? And to me, this fight definitely parallels the opening brawl between the Bride and Vernita Green and Kill Bill. Yelena uses a dish rag to wrap around Nat's arm and flips her and smashes her leg through the window glass, which definitely should give someone a laceration if that happens to you. But it's a movie, so she walks it off. Let's move on.
It's good to see you too, sis.
What brings you home?
Right, Natasha refers to Yelena as sis, referring to their sisterly bond from their shared experience in the Red Room. Yelena asks what brings her home, suggesting that we'll see Budapest maybe in both time periods of this movie. Natasha has made a number of visits back to the motherland and the former Soviet bloc over the years, including the trip between Winter Soldier and Civil War to track down her parents, revealed in a deleted scene in Civil War.
After everything happened with S.H.I.E.L.D., during my little hiatus, I went back to Russia and tried to find my parents. 2 little gravestones by a chain link fence. I pulled some weeds and left some flowers.
And then they peel out on a motorcycle through the streets of Budapest, and we move on.
We have unfinished business. We have to go back to where it all started.
Okay, here, Natasha stands among what looks like a crash site, holding some bag, as what looks like Ross's SUV brigade rolls in. And then back to Natasha and Yelena fleeing someone and using this teetering smokestack as kind of a pole vault. There's a third woman with them, could be Melina, kind of hard to tell from this distance. Yelena, notice, has a backpack there, which looks like the one Natasha's holding in that crash shot earlier, perhaps containing something of some significance. The most cryptic shot of this trailer comes right here, in this dark room with window shutters blacking out the sunlight. There are some antiquated odds and ends on the table, including projector slides and a chessboard, the ultimate game of Russia, making me think this could be like a Red Room command center in the past. There's a young agent facing a man. To me, this looks like that shot of Melina. There's a later shot of Rachel Weisz in which she looks a bit younger. And the man, maybe I'm reaching here, he does have similar slick back hair as a young Thunderbolt Ross. Above them are these 16 screens that appear to show city overhead maps and red dots spread throughout. Now, these glowing dots match the glowing red bands on the arms of the female assets that we see later in the trailer. There are about 16 or 17 women in that room. Maybe these are all Black Widow agents deployed throughout European cities, and that could connect to what Yelena was tracking on the map in her room. Now, I'll admit it's a bit odd that Ross could be at all connected to this KGB-rooted operation. Could we actually just be seeing the origin of the MCU Thunderbolts? Or could Ross actually be a secret Russian asset who rose through the ranks of the American military and diplomatic corps? I don't know, this is kind of becoming an episode of Total Conspiracy. But before we move on, a helicopter approaches a snow-covered base, presumably in Siberia, where Natasha sticks a superhero landing wearing this sweet white suit, which could be a nod to her look in the 2010 Black Widow Deadly Origin comic series. Let's move on.
Lucky us. One thing's for sure. It's gonna be a hell of a reunion.
Okay, here's that shot from the other Black Widow agents I mentioned before. Could be seen an adult version of the Red Room training here. And then there's the villain of this film, Taskmaster. Now, Taskmaster was originally a villain from the Avengers comics of the 80s, a guy named Tony Masters, who has the ability to use muscle memory, photographic reflexes to perfectly mimic his enemies' attacks back at them. He has a cape and a hood and a cool skull mask. But we've also seen mirrored tasks between Yelena and Natasha, suggesting that Taskmaster could actually be a mystery rogue agent from the Red Room, a lady, perhaps even Melina, since, it's Rachel Weisz. If you got an Oscar, you don't sign on to a Marvel movie just to play the brunette one. And since Hawkeye is rumored to be in this movie, the bow and arrow could indicate that's Clint Barton under the mask. I don't know, Taskmaster is a completely different character. This person could have just picked up a variety of skill sets from other fighters, maybe the bow and arrow from Clint, and the shield that we later see him with from fighting Red Guardian in the past, or Captain America. And speaking of Red Guardian, busting out of that Siberian facility is this fella, someone I'm definitely gonna aim to cosplay as, Alexei Shostakov, aka Red Guardian, a Soviet equivalent of Captain America, played by David Harbour. Red Guardian typically doesn't have advanced strength in the comics, but here he appears to punch down this reinforced door. Yes, I'll admit it's a bit ironic that David Harbour was known as a character who seemed to get locked away in Russia at the end of Stranger Things Season 3, but I'll explore that possible bonkers connection in another video. David Harbour is having a lot of fun in this role. He's flexing, he's showing off his Russian prison tattoos, which include the towers of St. Basil's Cathedral on his chest, and a spider web on his elbow, perhaps indicating a connection to the Black Widow program. And we see him in his full glory in the next clip.
Still fits. Family. Back together again.
You got fat.
Okay, Alexei puts on his classic Red Guardian suit, Still Fits, which is clearly modeled on the early version of Cap's suit with the straps and the pouches. Family sits down for a dinner of vodka, and there's a super interesting detail here. Notice Yelena's vest. This is the same exact vest that Natasha shows up wearing in Scotland in Infinity War. In that film, she also strangely changed her hair from her classic red to short blonde. I think it's possible that this was all done to embody the identity of her counterpart, Yelena, to help disguise herself while on the run. Maybe even Natasha took it on after murdering Yelena, and that is some of the red in her ledger that she's been trying to clear. But let me know what you think this vest connection is all about in the comments below, but let's move on to the final section. Okay, Alexei fights Taskmaster in this facility. At their feet is this broken shield. It has a T on it for Taskmaster. Now it's broken, suggesting Taskmaster just chucked it at Red Guardian, and Red Guardian smashed it into the ground. This room behind them features a number of smaller rooms with pink lighting. Perhaps these are the housing cells for each of the Black Widow agents. The Siberia facility collapses in an implosion, maybe an avalanche. Melina fires a grenade launcher, and Natasha closes out the trailer with this insane dive through the exploding debris and machine gun fire. It's nuts, I love it. May cannot come soon enough. What are you most looking forward to about the Black Widow movie? Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EABoss. Follow New Rockstars on socials and subscribe to New Rockstars here on YouTube. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.